Hello YouTube, this is Derek. I wanted to do a series of videos talking about my Broadway cast album collection. I have a fairly good sized collection, somewhere between 160 to 170 CDs. And I do have a handful of records and cassettes, but my CDs are what I consider to be my core collection, so that's what I'm going to be talking about on this video series. So we'll see how many videos it takes to get through them. I'll try to keep the videos between like 15 and 20 minutes, hopefully not go too much longer than that, but we'll just see where we are. And so I'm also going to be doing this by alphabetically by composer. So we'll go through there, and if there is if there is more than one composer listed, then I'll just go with whichever one is listed first on the CD and go that way. So if you see that I'm making mistakes somewhere, it very well could be that I'm making mistakes alphabetically, or it could be that as well. So to start off, we're going to talk about Damn Yankees. I have the '94 revival cast of Damn Yankees, which is a great little show. I've seen this one once before. I'd love to see it again. It's really fun. Next one is Legs Diamond. Now this one is interesting because when I got this, and I think it still is kind of true, that this was a little bit hard to find. It was a little bit more of a rare CD. This show was by Peter Allen, and it starred him as well, and it was kind of a flop. I was introduced to this show by a Broadway sampler CD that included the song Sure Thing Baby from here, which is a really great song. And the rest of the score is pretty good as well, but the show just didn't do well on Broadway. So it's kind of nice to have in my collection. I saw this in a CD store one time, snatched it up, and a friend of mine is still kind of mad at me about it because I saw it before he did. But it's really a great show to have. Next one is Chess. I have the original concept album of Chess. I also have the original Broadway cast of Chess. Now, if you are a Chess fan, you really need to have both of them because they are very different. They're also, this one includes the song Someone Else's Story, which is a really beautiful song. It's not on the original concept album. However, if you are new to the show or not sure, I'd probably start with this one. It's not as hard to find as the Broadway. I think it's a little bit stronger. It also has two CDs, whereas this one is just one CD. It's got this big box case because of the liner notes that are in it were really thick, and they were doing this at the time. So. But this one is a great one to have. I love Chess. It's a really fun show. Next one is Oliver. This is the original Broadway cast. One thing that's funny about this, I was actually in a cabaret show where I sang the song That's Your Funeral, which is a song between Mr. and Mrs. Sowerberry. And I found out I was going to be in the cabaret, thought I was going to be singing that song, came home to listen to this CD to kind of get an idea of what that song was like. It's not on here. It's not on this recording. So I would like to get another recording of this sometime, at least one that has that one. I believe the London cast, was a revival cast in London, came out I think maybe mid-90s, that has that song, and I would love to get that one since I did sing it. Next we have the revival cast of Any Get Your Gun with Bernadette Peters and Tom Wopat. To be honest, I'm not super crazy about Bernadette Peters in this role. I love Bernadette, but just her accent kind of seems to go in and out, and it's just, I don't know, it's just not really doing it for me on this one. It's okay, and I love Bernadette, don't get me wrong, but just for some reason she's just not doing it for me on here. However, she won a Tony Award for Best Actress that year for this show, so, you know, what do I know. Okay, next we're getting into Leonard Bernstein. I have On the Town. This is the show that is probably the best known song from the show is New York, New York, the one that's a hell of a town, that song. A lot of fun, a really great show. Love Bernstein. And then I also have the original cast of West Side Story. And I think you can see that here. This one is actually autographed by Cheetah Rivera, which is really exciting. I saw her in a production of Casper the Musical in Kansas City many years ago. And I honestly don't remember anything about Casper the Musical, but I knew she was in it, so I went and grabbed her, got her to sign this CD, so it's really exciting to have this. And I have another CD that she's signed that I'll show you later in the collection. Okay, next we have a section of Jerry Bach. Mostly what I have for him is Fiddler on the Roof. I have the original Broadway cast. I have the London cast, which features the really fun little kind of creepy claymation dude on the front. And then I have the film soundtrack. Now, another show that's not as well known by Jerry Bach, and there are several pieces or several composers on here, but he's listed first, so I put it with him, is Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful was a Sammy Davis Jr. vehicle, and I was introduced to this show very similarly to the way I was introduced to Legs Diamond, where it was one song on a Broadway sampler CD that I heard. The song was Too Close for Comfort. Great Sammy Davis Jr. song. Really loved it. And so when I saw this in a CD store, I had to pick it up as well to get the rest of the show. Okay, we'll move on to Mel Brooks. I have the original cast of The Producers and the original cast of Young Frankenstein. Now, The Producers, I really like this show. I do find it a little odd that it was so well lauded at the Tony Awards, and well, just all the awards. I mean, that year it won pretty much every award that they give for theater. Very, very well-loved show, and I like it. I think it's a great show. I was a little bit surprised. I don't know if it quite deserved all of the attention that it received from the awards, at least. But a friend of mine went to see this in New York, and he saw it with the original cast, and he said that it was amazing. But then he saw it with a replacement cast a little bit later, and he said something was missing in that replacement cast. So what might have been the case in this show, at least in New York, when got everybody so excited, may have had a lot to do with the original cast, which is a fantastic cast. And when I saw the show, I really liked it. I was just kind of surprised to think, wow, this is the most awarded show in Tony history. It's kind of strange for that. But I still think it's a really good show and a really funny show, and one that I'd like to see again. Young Frankenstein, unfortunately, I have not had a chance to see. There was a touring company of this that came in a few years ago, and I missed it, which really makes me sad because it's a really fun show. I love the movie. It's not as strong as the producers from a musical quality or standpoint, but it is still a really good show. I like it. Okay, back there. The next composer we'll get into is Jason Robert Brown. First is his Songs for a New World. Now this is a review show or like a cabaret show, so there's not a book to this. It's not an actual musical. It's a bunch of songs that are sort of connected by a theme, but the music is just amazing in this show. One thing that's also nice is because these shows are designed for for the cabaret setting, they are storytelling songs. A lot of them are, and they really have like beginning, a middle, and an end. And they really take you on this great journey. So they're really great songs to use. Even if you take them out of the context of this production, it's still really solid and really tells a great story. But of course, when you add it with the theme that's in here, it's even better. Next is The Last 5 Years. This is a really great CD. I've never had a chance to see the show, and I'm really sad about that. Because I love the show, I love as far as the music goes, I love the concept. It's a husband and a wife, it's just a two-person show, and kind of what they're dealing with. And there's an interesting time element to it as far as the way that the characters interact. One of them is running backwards in time, so every scene is a little bit, she starts off at the end of the relationship and goes backwards and toward the beginning, whereas the husband does the reverse. So that's kind of a neat concept. I'd love to see how that actually plays out on stage. The last Jason Robert Brown show that I'm going to talk about is Parade. Now this is one of the greatest musicals ever written, in my opinion. I think this piece is absolutely amazing. I was actually in a production of this here recently, and it was one of the greatest theatrical experiences of my life. I mean, the show is so profound, it is so moving, it is so compelling, it's just got such great music. Everything about this show is stellar. I absolutely love it. Now the thing is funny, this particular production, this is the Broadway cast recording, and the character that I played the old soldier. I also played Judge Roan in the show, and Judge Roan's solo song is different on this CD than it is on the production that we did, because what they have, what the licensing company issues now is the London version. When the show was revived at the Dunbar Warehouse in London, they did a lot of revisions to the show, and that's what you can license from the company now. So again, kind of similar to what happened with Oliver, found out I was in the show, went and listened to the CD, and then come to find out when I get my copy of the libretto and the score, totally different song. I like both songs. I think both of them are interesting. They do very different things in the show. So each one is fascinating. They're very different songs, and they do different things dramatically in the show. So I like them both for different reasons. I don't have the recording of the Donmar production. I would love to get it. It's a little pricey. But I would like to get it because, of course, it's having been in the show and, of course, having sung that song, I would like to have that in my collection. It's a little pricey, though, because it's a 2-CD set, and also in addition to the 2 CDs, I think it has a DVD with it as well. So it's a lot, you get a lot for your money, but it's still like $50. So it's kind of a lot to drop all at once. One of these days I think I'm going to pick it up. I just haven't gotten it yet. But if you're not familiar with the show Parade, go out today, buy the CD, either one, doesn't matter, learn the show, and you will thank me later. It is an amazing piece. Okay, we'll get into Cy Coleman next. I love Cy Coleman. What's funny, probably Cy Coleman's most famous show, arguably, is Sweet Charity. And I don't have a recording of Sweet Charity, so I'd love to get one. I need to add that to my collection. What I do have here, I have On the 20th Century. This is a really neat show. It takes place on a train. That's what the 20th Century is. It's the name of the train, so the whole thing takes place on this train. And I like the score. I've never seen a production of this. I've never known of a company to do it, even though at the time, it was... I don't know, I think it was a fairly successful musical. But the cast in this thing is fantastic. You've got Madeline Kahn, who's amazing, John Cullum, who's awesome, and Imogene Coca. And I personally love Imogene Coca because she was in an episode of Mama's Family, which is the greatest television show of all time. So she's got that going for her, so it makes that CD even better to get to hear her sing. I also have City of Angels. This is a really excellent score. I've never seen this show either, but the score is amazing. It's big, brassy Broadway, excellent. I have the Broadway cast. I would love to get the London cast. There are a few songs on the London cast I think are a little bit better. I used to have a cassette of the London cast. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. But there's a song called You Gotta Look Out for Yourself, I think is the one that I really like in the London cast. So I do want to pick that one up sometime. And then the last Cy Coleman piece that I have here is The Life. This is a really excellent score. This is a show about pimps and hookers in the 1980s, and it really has, it's an amazing cast, amazing songs, a really, really cool show. I wish a company around here would do this show. I've never seen it, and I think it would be a fantastic piece to do because the score is just outstanding. The story, at least in reading the liner notes, seems really excellent. So I'd love to see this, and I wish a company around here would do it. Next, we have Spamalot. Spamalot is basically a musical version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and it's a good show, and I like Spamalot. I have to admit, though, when I first saw it, I was a little bit disappointed, and there's really no reason for that other than, I guess, my own expectations. And I don't know what I expected, because, like I said, it's a musical version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so it doesn't claim to be any more or any less than that. But when I saw it, I guess it was just the fact that these were jokes that I'd heard a million times. I heard my friends quote them a million times. There was just something I was like, I guess I was expecting something different or something more, or I don't know. I was just a little bit disappointed when I saw it. I didn't dislike it. It just, I guess, again, because it was such a hit, I expected it to hit me a little bit more strongly than it did. Having said that, I would love to see the show again. I hope I get an opportunity to see it again because I think that having gone through that and kind of knowing more now what it's like, I can go and appreciate the show on its own merits a little bit more. So it's a good show. The music is really funny. There's a lot of great songs in here. I just need to give it another shot. Next, we have 1776. I have the original Broadway cast. I also have the revival cast. I actually was introduced to the show when the Muni Theater here in St. Louis, this Muni is a huge outdoor theater. I think it's the largest outdoor theater in the country. They did a production of this with Robert Westenberg, who played the wolf in Into the Woods. He was also Neville in the original cast of The Secret Garden. I mean, just an amazing actor. And I went into the show not knowing anything about it, and pretty much my jaw was on the floor the entire time. I absolutely loved the show. I just thought I loved everything about it. I thought it was fantastic. And I know a big part of what I loved about it was Robert Westenberg's performance. If you ever get a chance to see him in any show, absolutely go see it because his performance, I mean, it's probably 15 years ago when I saw that production, and it still sticks with me. I still remember how much I loved it. I still remember how much I loved his performance in it. So, I mean, absolutely go see him if you ever get a chance. And get to know the show. It's really a lot of fun. It's really a well done, historical piece. I mean, it sounds like a really dry subject, but they do it in such a fun way. What's also kind of fun, if you are a fan of television, it's nice to have a copy of this, because in here, John Adams, the lead part, is played by William Daniels, who is Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World. He's also the voice of Kit in Knight Rider. And in the revival cast, I don't know if you can see that there, it's played by Brent Spiner, who is Data from Star Trek. So if you're a fan of television, this is a great show to have in your collection. Okay, this is my very sad little lonely William Finn collection. I only have one William Finn CD. And I recognize that this is a big hole in my collection. And you'll see as we go on, there are a lot of holes in my collection. It's a nice collection, but there's a lot of places that I definitely have some room to work, and William Finn is one of them. This piece I have is March of the Falsettos. This is actually part of a trilogy. It's a trilogy of one-act musicals. The first one is called In Trousers, then March of the Falsettos is the second part of the trilogy, and then the last one is Falsetto Land. These were performed off-Broadway, but they took March of the Falsettos and Falsetto Land and sort of reworked them into a show called Falsettos. This one was the first act, and then Falsetto Land was the second. So if nothing else, I would love to get Falsetto Land so I can complete the Falsettos set, but William Finn is probably known now more for 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee is probably his most recent big popular show that I'm familiar with, at least, and also A New Brain is another one that I hear a lot of people really speak highly of, and I'm not familiar with that show. So I definitely know I need to get myself more invested in William Finn and his body of work, because March of the Falsettos is amazing, and what I've heard of the other shows are great. I just don't happen to have them in my collection. So, all right, next big section here we have is my section of Ahrens and Flaherty. I really love Ahrens and Flaherty. I think they are really some of the best musical theater writers that are working now. They just really consistently put out high quality work. The first one we have here is Once on This Island. I have the original Broadway cast, and I also have the London cast. The London cast was actually a little bit tricky to find when I purchased this. I think it might still be, although it may have been reprinted at some point. But if you are new to the show, I'd probably recommend the Broadway one. I think this is the stronger of the two recordings, although if you're a fan of the show, definitely get both, because they're both nice and they have, each one has its own unique special qualities. I was actually in this show. I was in a production of this about 12 years ago, and I played the God of Death, Papagay. What's interesting is that Once on This Island is intended to be performed with an all-black cast, but when you get the rights to perform it, you can get a version where they will make a couple of tweaks to let us white folks get involved too. And I'm glad they did, because it's a really great show. I didn't know it at all until I did it, and have been very richly rewarded by knowing that show since. Next is Ragtime. Not a whole lot I can say about Ragtime that hasn't already been said. This is just a phenomenal piece of musical theater. It's a very epic show, a very powerful score, and just I really, really love everything that Ragtime is and does. One thing that's neat about my particular recording, I don't know if you can see this very well, my copy is actually signed by Audra McDonald, who was in this production, and she won a Tony Award for this. I saw her in Kansas City. She was doing a concert, so I went to the cast exit and caught her as she was leaving and got her to sign several of my CDs, some of which you'll see down the line here, a couple more. It was really exciting to get her to sign Ragtime because I love the show so much, and she won a Tony Award for it. So, dropped a couple in here. All right, next is Seussical. Seussical followed Ragtime. This was the next show that Stephen Flaherty did after that show. And you know, in all honesty, Ragtime is a tough act to follow. It's really difficult to follow that with anything. But I think it was a little bit jarring, at least for me, because this show has such a different tone than Ragtime. Ragtime was very heavy, full of gravitas, full of just, you know, really big ideas. And Seussical is light and fun and awesome, but is very different than Ragtime. What's nice is that, you know, when you compare Ragtime and Seussical, it's amazing to see the range that Ahrens and Flaherty have, which is why one of the reasons I think they're so talented is that they do such different things and do them both very well. But I think this one suffered a little bit in people's receptions because it followed Ragtime. I know it did for me. Now, since having first listened to the cast album, I wasn't, you know, when I first listened to it, I wasn't all that crazy about it, but I have since seen the show and found it to be a wonderful show, a charming, fun, fantastic piece. So I really do like the CD now. I've listened to it since I saw the show again and really have fallen in love with it. And there's actually a, I believe it's a London recording, or maybe it's off Broadway, but there's a new recording of Seussical that's come out that is a little bit revised, kind of like they did with Parade. I'd love to get that one too, because that may be the version that I saw was that revised version, but I would love to have as much Seussical as I can get now, because I really do like the show now that I've given it more of a chance. And then the last one I have here is The Glorious Ones. The Glorious Ones is a show that I actually have a cute story about how I got this CD. My girlfriend introduced me to this show. She had seen a production of it in Chicago, absolutely loved it, but she was kind of dismayed that a lot of people didn't know the show, me included. I had never heard of it. So she was telling me all about it, and she just had such a passion for this show. So it was our first Christmas together, so I decided to buy her the cast album because she didn't have it, even though she loved the production that she had seen. So I bought the cast album for her for Christmas. Well, it turns out that she actually bought me the cast album for Christmas as well, because she wanted me to get to know the show. So we all bought each other the same gift, which was kind of funny and kind of cute, I guess. This is a really great show, though. I'm glad she introduced me to it, because it really is a quality piece and has just some amazing music. There's a song in here, one that I think is her favorite as well, is My Body Wasn't Why. Just a great song. Absolutely beautiful piece. So I think that's actually it we're going to do for this video. Like I said, I'm going to do a series of these because I have a good sized collection, but I want to keep the videos somewhat manageable, because I know you guys get bored if I have something that's like 8 hours long. So if you have any ideas for musicals that you think that I need to get to know, that I haven't mentioned, especially by this composer or by anybody, mention them in the comments. I'd love to learn about them. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I really hope that you enjoyed this show, or this video, and I will be doing some more. And if you have any, again, any suggestions at all, please let me know.